Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's April 4th, 2016. The major news headline thus far today is about this offshore banking scandal. Supposedly there was a leak, and all of these names have been exposed from the United States, from Russia, from elsewhere. Billionaires hiding their money in an offshore bank, avoiding taxes, avoiding fees. On the surface, for most of us, it's like, so what? We know this goes on. We've heard these stories countless times. So why are we getting this on April 4th, 2016? Why is this the big news headline as if it's some revelation? In this video, we're going to cover why this news story is the headline today. If you're new to my channel, I am exposing beyond a shadow of a doubt how news is contrived on the daily. I show how the powers that be who control the media worldwide use the language of numerology and gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, to contrive their stories every single day. One of the most shining examples of this for us in the United States was September 11th, 911, the emergency dialing code. And all of a sudden we have this big national emergency blamed on a boogeyman in a cave in a land far away. A story that everyone should have seen through in 3 seconds, and they would have if their eyes weren't covered with wool. So my work is about taking the wool off the eyes and showing how this grand scheme goes on. Also think about how this story of money comes out 11 days before tax day, the day we all get bent over by the Masons and Zionists who rule over us. When this nation was founded, supposedly we weren't supposed to have to pay taxes on our labor. Now the vast majority of us pay, a third to half of it away every year. Our work, we don't even see the full fruits of it. It goes right to the government. Nation of 300 million, having the wealth they generate sucked up by banker tyrants at the top. This article is about placing blame, pointing the finger, escaping the reality of the day. So let's get into it. CNN's front page. Follow the money. We got an island with a dollar. Nice creative graphic they gave us. Follow the money in gematria sums to 188 and 71. And in a minute, we're going to talk about why this is significant. Notice the subheadline. Rich respond to explosive offshore claims. 188 and 440. 188 coded into both headlines and not by coincidence. With regards to the 440, 0 doesn't count in numerology, so it's a lot like 44. Today's April 4th, 4-4. It also happens to be a date with 44 numerology this year. And typically, 44 is a number connected to destruction, sacrifice, killing. Think about money in this world. We are born into this world that runs on money. All of us need to make at least a little bit to feed ourselves, to clothe ourselves, to shelter ourselves. It's a necessity. But at the same time, it's a necessity that contributes to so much destruction and so much wrongdoing. In this world, it's profit before people. We live in this world of markets and investments and return on investment and continual return on investment. It's a giant Ponzi scheme that runs on money. Just think about it on a base level. The food in this country, it's put out by corporations that run on profit. And these corporations, they figure out newer and newer ways to produce food more cheaply, which often means chemicals, stuff that's toxic. But in their equations, it doesn't matter if the food's toxic if it makes them more profit, because they're investors. They always need a greater and greater return. So what happens in this nation? We have our elected officials, right? As if they're really elected. They go to Congress and they serve these lobbyists who work for these corporations. And ultimately, the lobbyists write these this legislation that the politicians pass. And some of that legislation in regards to food is about suppressing the truth about what's in the food, preventing information from being put on food labels. This is really what goes on in our nation. We pay these elected officials to make it so that we can't even know what's in our food. And keep in mind, I'm just doing one small example here of what's wrong with money and the world we live in. Paying people to hide the truth about the food we eat. And when you think about food, there's not too much in this world that's more important than it. What goes into our bodies, it has to do with how long we live, the diseases we eventually get and die from. You know? We as a people are treated like financial instruments from birth. The powers that be know that if they give us certain illnesses that they know how to treat, it's all part of their money-making scheme. Cancer. Let's just talk about cancer. The word cancer in gematria equals 44. The word chemo in gematria equals 44. The word kill equals 44. I challenge you, once you're done with this video, to type in cancer dead at 44. See how many celebrities are reported dead from cancer at age 44. If you follow my channel, I show how many of these celebrities also die from cancer on dates with 44 numerology, at least supposedly. Like I said, news stories contrived by the numbers. So anyway, 188 and 71, what's that have to do with anything? How about offshore banking? Offshore accounts. Gematria of 188 and 71, which is what this story is largely about. Billionaires sticking their money in these offshore accounts so that they can avoid taxes. April 4th, 2016, 4-4, the date with 44 numerology this year. Also a date with 17 numerology, the reflection of 71. So, who's to blame in this article? This is where it just gets comical. This firm named Mossack Fonseca. What's that equal in gematria? It equals 144. How's that tie into the picture? If you write out April 4th, it sums to 144. If you write out 44, that sums to 144. If you write out 71, that sums to 144. And for the record, the only two numbers that sum to 144 when written out are 44 and 71. And again, the firm, 144. So this is the mainstream reporting. This is CNN. The mainstream media does this all the time. There's a lot of people in this nation, they're like, oh, I don't pay attention to the mainstream media. I get all my information from Zero Hedge or some other bullshit blog such as Zero Hedge. I've been speaking out about Zero Hedge since it showed up. When this blog was new, a lot of people, they found out about it and they thought this was the ultimate truth. But I was reading their stories and going, no, this is just more contrived bullshit. This is the same powers that be trying to make it look like, here's the real truth. But it's just more nonsense. Look at what Zero Hedge writes today. Mossack Fonseca has 441 U.S. clients. Who are they? This is just bullshit. 441, the reflection of 144? You pay attention to Zero Hedge, they do the same thing as the mainstream media. Why do you think they go by Tyler Durden, This entity from the movie, from the book. All the movies and books you hear about, they're mostly all from this same Masonic Zionist gang. These people have a stranglehold on the world. And again, this story comes 11 days before tax day, has everything in the world to do with money. April 15th is the 105th day of the year. Zionism and Masonry equal 105. These are the powers that be who rule over us. Federal Reserve also has gematria of 71 like Catholic. The Jesuits, under this same Masonic Zionist umbrella, it was the Catholic Church who originally sent Christopher Columbus over here to colonize the nation, spread the Masonic order as they did, beginning the nation with a genocide. Genocide in gematria equals 44, that destructive kill number. So anyhow, this company, they are located in the Seychelles Islands. From the reporting, they let us know that's the location. And this is another location that has Masonic ties. In recent headlines on March 11th, written 11/3 in most parts of the world, it was announced that Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Seahawks, the little sellout that he is, the little Masonic entity in the rigged NFL, he got engaged on March 11th, 11/3 on these islands. I did a video on how it was a Masonic ritual. Gematria of 113. Scottish, as in Scottish Rite Freemasonry, equals 113. Dishonest equals 113. Mainstream equals 113. Bava Kama 113a says a Jew can lie to a Gentile. A Gentile is a non-Jew. The mainstream media is run by Zionist Jews that lie to the masses every single day with contrived bullshit stories. And they code this number into most of them in one way or another. It's in their spiritual text. It's coded into our language. You start putting two and two together, it's not hard to see who created English. English equals 74. Gematria equals 74. Masonic equals 74. Jewish equals 74. Think about this nation's birthday. 7-4. It's always been a Masonic Jewish creation from the beginning. Also, this takes place in the Indian Ocean. You know, they're located in the Indian Ocean, these islands. Indian has gematria of 33. Think about how CC, Christopher Columbus, came to North America and called the people Indian. Indian the big way also equals 51. Like conspiracy, also like federal. Supposedly it was the ICIJ, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, that leaked this information. Here's what I noticed. This could be a coincidence, but I think it's interesting. International Consortium of Investigative Journalists has gematria of 213. And what that makes me think of, besides the Warren G song Regulators, is the date February 13th. February 13th is the 44th day of the year. That day is known as Lupercalia, an ancient Roman festival. Lupercalia has gematria of 44. This year, Antonin Scalia died on that day by the numbers. He died at a ranch. Ranch has gematria of 44. Notice he had a closed casket ceremony. I suspect Antonin Scalia is truly alive. Anyhow, that connection, 213, sort of comes back to 44. There's a whole lot of 44 in this story. There's a possibility this is what 213 is all about. It's one of these numbers I see that, it confuses me a little bit. I don't know exactly what it's about, so this is just speculation. You could call this the speculative part of the video. The rest of this is how it's done. This right here, a little speculation, could be wrong. And if you don't know Regulator and Warren G, the rap song from the 90s, he tells everybody, you know what's up with 213. That's the area code there. But I'm sure there's a greater meaning to it. The hip-hop industry, ruled by these Masons and Zionists, a whole lot of coding in the hip-hop industry and artist names, album names. I've done a lot of work on this. A lot of these rappers aren't writing their own lyrics, I'll tell you that much. So I think that pretty much sums it up. Don't want to ramble on too long. Follow the money is right. Just realize your mainstream media is hoaxing you by the day, contriving stories by the day. The reason this story came out on April 4th was for everything that was said. Don't get too caught up in the media. It's just a bunch of bullshit. What you need to do is spread this knowledge, help awaken your asleep neighbors, your asleep family, and then we need to gather together and take this world back from the tyrants. Those of you who paid your taxes this year, I know why you did. You don't want to get in trouble, but more of you need to start being like me. I'm not paying any taxes this year. I didn't pay any last year. Eventually I'm going to get in trouble. But this is the stand we need to take. Going to jail, that's not the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen is no one standing against these tyrants and watching the world become that much worse by the day. Until next time.